Hey guys, welcome to Tyson's Fitness Tips Podcast. If you want to lose weight, increase your energy, improve your health and fitness, and look your best, then you have come to the right place. My name is Tyson Brown. I'm a personal trainer, and my job is to help you transform your body by sharing with you the most up-to-date information on health and fitness. I'm going to distill it all down for you into bite-sized actionable steps that you can take immediately to see results quickly. Now, every Tuesday and Thursday, you can expect a brand new episode, which will be a mixture of interviews with top experts from around the world in the fitness space, and as well as solo episodes from myself, sharing with you exactly what action steps you need to take to transform your health, your body, and your life. Also, don't forget to listen all the way to the end of the show, because in the middle, I'm going to share with you a time-saving tip, and it might just be a game changer. I know you're short on time, and this one can save you a lot of time and a lot of energy. So, let's get into the show. Hey guys, what's going on? It is 5:30 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday, and I just finished recording a kick-ass podcast with two of my friends, Eric and Chris Martinez. And today we kind of just discussed, just some common fitness mistakes that people seem to make, both coaches and clients themselves. So it's a really cool, in-depth little look at how they run their business, some common mistakes we make, how we can fix them. And also, we recommend some pretty cool books that I highly recommend you guys pick up, because you can educate yourself, teach yourself how to become healthy and fit if you just don't want to get yourself a trainer. So sit back, enjoy your black coffee, and let's have some fun. Have people come to you guys before who have struggled with weight loss, and they say they've tried everything? They've tried cutting the carbohydrates, they've tried restricting themselves, they've done all those, excessive amounts of exercise. Have you guys experienced people coming to you like that before?
Absolutely. Especially after working with over 1,000 clients, I would definitely say that we have had several of those clients come to us, and it's frustrating, especially on their end. And at times, we want to sit there and kind of, be realistic about the expectations, on our end with our services, because we're not magicians. We're not going to sit there and lead people on. We have integrity with that. So, we're going to do the best that we can to diagnose and pick apart every little thing that's going on in their current journey, and do our best to put them in a position to succeed. That's
really cool. And so, obviously, going back, finding out more about them, and let's say someone who's just come to you and they're like, you know what? I've been what's one probably, can you think of something maybe in the last couple of weeks someone's come to you with, whether it be exercising too much or cutting too many calories?
Yeah, those things are very common, man. But I think one that a lot of people really underlook, and there's a good example of this. A female came to me about a month ago, and I kept trying to get to the root of the problem, why she wanted to sit there and lose, 15 pounds in kind of an unrealistic amount of time, almost 4 weeks. And I kept asking her why, and that's when I needed to hop on the phone call with her to kind of really dig deep and figure out what the why, what the purpose was behind getting down 15 pounds. And finally, I was able to get to her, and she wanted to, kind of do a crash diet and lose 15 pounds to look good in a bikini for a vacation she was going on. Right. So as soon as I knew that, man, I knew there was something way deeper than just losing 15 pounds. You know what I mean? That's always the case. So if you're a practitioner, if you're an online coach listening right now, I always highly recommend figuring out what the why and the purpose is, and hopping on the phone call with them and having that conversation, that heart to heart, because once you figure out what the why and purpose is, you're able to light that fire. You're able to keep them accountable. And when you go throughout the diet process, so a lot of these people psychologically are going to get tired, motivation is going to drop, and then you always constantly remind them about that why and that purpose, and that reignites that fire again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And so for the people who obviously don't, if they don't get coaching, and how can they constantly remind themselves of that why to keep them on track, to keep that fire lit? Because I know a lot of people that, they want to start off, they go balls to the wall, but what happens? Most people end up falling down eventually. So how can they keep that? How can they keep reminding themselves of that special why?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a couple of simple things. Like you can always like put like a reminder, like somewhere to always constantly remind you and trigger that in your brain. You can always put like a wallpaper on your phone of like your goal. You can put a big goal like right in front of the scale that you weigh in every single day. You can put that bikini or those board shorts you want to get in right in front of the scale. I mean, there's so many things you can do that will just kind of like, just trigger your mindset to be like, okay, this is exactly why I'm doing this. This is exactly why I'm busting my ass to do this, and the why, the purpose behind it.
And I think just to add to that, I mean, they could even take it a step further and put themselves, in positive environments with like-minded people that are going through that same journey and have similar goals and whys as well too. That way they hold themselves accountable.
So, like, that could be obviously joining a Facebook group or joining a community of like-minded people who are there, or like, everyone has their own different why, but they're all on the same mission to achieve a goal.
Absolutely.
Cool. And so having that on my wall, being because we're visual creatures, having that somewhere where we can see it is a lot more important than kind of just reminding ourselves. Because when you have that goal weight and you see it, you're like, oh yeah, that's what I'm working towards. Like humans, just visual creatures, it's much easier to be able to see that and then think about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because at the end of the day, man, we kind of respond better with images and visuals. And that's the thing a lot of people don't understand too, is when they start their fitness journey, like they always think that as long as they have like the golden macro ratios or the perfect diet or the quote unquote perfect training program, they think that's all that matters, right? But they don't understand the mindset, the psychological aspect behind all this stuff. And that's where the why and the purpose plays such a pivotal role as far as, leading into the mindset and the psychological part, because it's not just training and nutrition. There's no way you can sit there and just have, that long lasting results that you want just by having that type of black and white mindset within it.
And I think, for example, the other day I was having a conversation with one of my clients, Heather, and we set some goals, and I, told her to, either put something visual, some words of affirmation to be a constant reminder in her subconscious every day, or even better, I told her to, put something on the calendar and have a timeline or a reward with that, most importantly, when she reaches that date that she wants to be ready or, reach her goal. And she's going to make her work that much harder and stay more focused.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Deadlines are key because, Craig Valentine says, a goal without a deadline is it's nothing. You can say, I want to lose weight, but if you don't have that deadline, that could be, you're doing yourself a disservice when you just say, I want to lose weight, or, you don't even give yourself a clear goal that you need to be able to stick towards.
Yeah.
So what about if someone comes to you guys and they've just overeaten, they've had like a binge or anything like that? How do you what should people not do when things like that come up?
So like when that comes up, if like somebody binges, like what do we do as coaches to like kind of have a talk with them, or?
Yeah, how do you get someone back on track? Because I know a lot of people once they binge, they throw it all away and they think they've ruined everything. But what do you guys advise people to teach them how to kind of not do that?
That's a great question, man. And the first thing that we do is we never sit there and bash them or shame them or guilt them, right? We always tell them that, look, we're humans at the end of the day. This type of stuff happens along your fitness journey. You're never going to have 365 days of perfection within it. So get used to some of these slip ups, right? So the biggest thing we try to teach them as coaches is don't make the same mistake twice or three times, right? Because you got to identify what it was that triggered the binge. That's the number one thing is like, what was the trigger? Was it that you had like a highly palatable food, in your pantry that kind of like triggered that reward system that you wanted, that salty, sugary, high fat food? Was it a social environment where a lot of people were eating and you felt like pressure to sit there and indulge in something? So you figure out the trigger. And after that, when they identify the trigger, they just try not to put themselves back in that position. They just learn from it.
And I think also, Tyson, a good teaching point for coaches or practitioners is put yourself in their shoes and be relatable with the situation, because damn well as a coach and practitioner, you're not perfect. You slip up on your diet and everything, and it's okay. You get back on track. That's the most important thing. And as long as you sit there and ground yourself and say, look, I got to put myself in their shoes first, and maybe, kind of really check yourself before you get back to them with a good answer, because there might be a point where you're having a bad day or you might be going through something and they might come off wrong, that response you give them. So always just make sure you're in a good state of mind, as a practitioner to reply to your clients to, really push them going forward.
Oh man, that is such a key point because like you first of all, never should, like you said, never berate someone because we are all human and we're never perfect. And it's the same thing, like, when you share that you've had struggles and that you've got certain foods that you can't eat because like it makes you binge or anything like that. And when you share that with a person, like they're like, oh, like Tyson's human too. My coach is also human. And that's why I say to my clients, I can't keep ice cream in the house for that exact reason.
It's so funny, man, because I tell my clients the same thing. I'm like, look, if I'm having a couple of beers like on the weekend and somebody puts chips and salsa in front of me, I'll literally probably like binge on 5 baskets of chips.
And it's funny though, because everyone has trigger foods, but you've got to identify what those trigger foods are, right?
Yeah, but then you see the quote unquote big Instagram influencers and the rip people everywhere say that they don't have trigger foods. They're just bulletproof when it comes to trigger foods,
Yeah. Right. Non-human.
What's your trigger food, Tyson?
You said ice cream.
Ice cream for sure. It's that, or it's I guess you would have to, well, I can eat dark chocolate, but if it's like any of the like just the chocolate you can buy from the store, then I'd probably smash a bit of that too.
So you got a sweet tooth?
Yeah, definitely. Like Mum used to feed me all the confectionery stuff when I was younger, so that was the downfall of my demise. I've still got that nostalgic feeling when I had the sweet stuff.
Yeah, that's funny.
But like you said, everyone's got that. So once you identify it, like clearly you guys don't keep hot chips in the house, probably because you don't have a fryer either. But you just don't keep those trigger foods in the house, so you avoid it at all times, right?
Not at all times. Like I won't keep it in the pantry for that reason. But like if I go out on the weekend, I'm like, I'm having an indulgence meal, like Chipotle or something like that, or some like a burrito. I'll have some chips with it, and I'll make sure that they don't bring me out 2 or 3 bags of chips because I know I'll eat them all. So all they have to do is bring me back like half a serving, and I get some chips in there, and that's all I need.
Absolutely, that's awesome. It was actually funny. I was at a seminar last weekend, and you know how they give you like little snacks to have during the day, like they might give you mints or they might give you, they just put things on the table. I actually physically removed those things from my area of the table and put them down the other end with everyone else because I knew that if they were there, I was going to eat them. And so it's just like, you can have the foods when you like, it's the 80-20 principle, but at the same time, if you know that you're going to binge on something and it's there and it's going to be nagging you, just get it out of sight or get it out of the house so it's not there continuously working on your willpower day by day.
Yeah, and that's smart that you did that. And I think just too being aware, that self-awareness that those are your trigger foods and that you're trying not to put yourself in that position is really huge. And a lot of people don't realize that's the first step to everything. Going forward is that self-awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what about so let's say if you did make you kind of, let's say, blew it out of the water on Saturday, what is your protocol after that? Do you just get straight back on track? Do you go and hit the gym really, really hard? Like, what do you guys think about is a smart choice going forwards after that happens?
Yeah, no, great question. For me personally, I know that, most of the times on the weekends, I'm going to overindulge, but that's just who I am and I've accepted that and that's fine. What I usually do is Monday, I literally get back on track, like laser focused. And that's really it. I live with it and I'm okay with it. And I literally get back on track with my calorie intake, my ranges, get back to the whole and minimally refined food sources, really just tighten things up, get back to my training program, my cardio program. And that's really it because I can't go back and live in the past. That's not a really good mindset to have. So I can't undo all that stuff. I mean, yeah, I could possibly go forward with having less calories the next day. I could do more cardio to deplete more extra glycogen, sodium, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm okay with that mentally to where it's like, I don't need to do that and be extreme and go through that vicious cycle. And I don't have any major, deadlines to be lean or goals right now. So it just depends where you're at, with your fitness journey.
No, I think that's a really good point because you should, the one thing you shouldn't do is try and use exercise as a beat yourself up and a crutch to because you made a mistake. I mean, like you said, you get back on track the next day and you go, you know what, I'm going to focus back on it because once you start thinking of exercise as a punishment tool, then all of a sudden it's not something you feel good at doing.
Exactly. Then it becomes just a vicious cycle where every single weekend you're binging and then the next day you're busting your ass, doing that dreaded cardio. And it just becomes this real negative vicious cycle.
Yeah. And I try to tell even myself and my clients too that look, if you know you're gonna be going somewhere social on the weekend, or you know you're gonna be in that position where you're likely gonna overindulge, or have too many cheat meals, quote unquote, just really plan ahead, in the morning or the night before, right? Just have a little bit less food in the morning, maybe do a little bit more activity in the morning, and just have fun with it, just accept that.
Absolutely. And I think another thing too is to not weigh yourself the day after, because it's going to be heavier than usual, and it's going to make you feel terrible.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a very good point psychologically.
For sure. And so
another good thing too, man, is avoid like mirrors too. Like that's another thing is, people sit there and they'll freak out because they're holding like more, water from the sodium and the glycogen, and they'll freak out because they're seeing their body composition in the mirror. So that's something I recommend too, is just avoid the scale and the mirror for a couple of days.
The last thing you want to do is look super puffy the next day and stare at yourself in the mirror, right?
We all have.
Yeah, for sure. And so obviously, like, on the dieting track, you've people who are on it consistently and they're doing good things, they eventually start to get hungry. The hunger comes up. It's very, very hard to keep cravings away. So do you guys have any set things you do to kind of, curb that hunger when you start to feel it?
Yeah, there's some stuff you can do, man. But a lot of the things, too, what people don't understand with hunger is it's so complex. And, that's just a normal, metabolic adaptation that happens from just, number one, how long you're on a diet for. Number two, how long or how much muscle mass you're losing. People don't really understand that the hunger is really kind of correlated with muscle mass. So when people diet the wrong way, they're losing a lot of lean body mass. And then that's why their hunger signals go up, more. But some tricks to kind of like avoid that is, just really eating more satiated foods, right? So foods that have like a higher water content. So, potatoes are a great satiating carbohydrate source. Brown rice, white rice, some breads are, and then, have just higher satiating protein sources that digest a little bit slower in the gut, such as like steaks, egg whites, cottage cheese, stuff like that. The second tip that people can do is, what I like doing is, depending on how many meals you have, for the day, I like having, 3 big meals. And then what I do though is I have a 200-calorie snack first thing in the morning, and that holds me out with my coffee for about 3 hours. Say I have that at 8 o'clock. I won't have my first meal, my big meal, till probably about noon. So then after that, I can start pushing my meals back about 4 to 5 hours, and then I go to sleep around 11. So I still get my 3 meals in there plus that snack, and I'm still hitting my macronutrients and my calorie goal.
Oh, that's a good one. What's your little 200-calorie snack you usually have with the coffee?
Yeah. So I like 170 grams of low-fat cottage cheese with like 7 grams of blueberries. You can have like a scoop of whey with a rice cake and peanut butter. You can have a scoop of whey with like 20 grams of oats. So there's a lot of different options, and I just shave that off. Like, say I'm taking in 2,000 calories, and cool, I have 1,800 calories to work with 3 big meals, and I usually have balanced meals, so I stay full.
Nice, man. Cottage cheese is definitely the way to go. Or even just one of those
I
small,
love cottage cheese,
small
man.
yogurts work well too, because they're under 200 calories.
Yeah, yogurt as well.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta love it. That's awesome. And so obviously on that, like, I think a lot of people also mistake. Do you find a lot of people mistake cravings with hunger? Like, they think they're hungry, but they're actually just craving a food. Because I feel like if you are actually hungry, you would eat vegetables if you were hungry, right? If you're like, you know what, I'm hungry, I'm like, okay, I've got this plate of vegetables. If you were truly hungry, people would say, okay, yeah, I actually need that. But if people are just having that craving, they'll say, no, I don't want the vegetables, I want this instead. So I think it's also that figuring out, are you having a food craving or are you truly hungry?
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
I think too, yeah, I mean, just think about it. I mean, we're constantly the dopamine in our brains, just setting off little triggers and signals, and especially the different hunger cues. And yeah, our brains are always going to be like, yeah, I'm craving this like food, whether it's like a salty food or a sweet food. And we're not going to be like, oh, I'm craving vegetables or, something healthy. So it's funny how that works, though. I mean, I don't really have like the answer to it. I'm sure there's like some research or literature on that, but I think that's pretty fascinating how that works.
Yeah, it's the body's just a very, very interesting thing. We think we know something, and then all of a sudden, the study comes out, blows it out of the water, and we're all like, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
Yeah, exactly.
So, I'm just trying to think what other things do people struggle with when it comes to dieting? it's the binging, it's the too much. Oh, what about cardio? What do you guys think when it comes to cardio? Like, is there a lot of people say you shouldn't do it? A lot of people say you should do it. Like, what's your opinion when it comes to that?
Yeah, what I like doing with cardio is doing what I call the MVP, right? So, or MVD, minimal viable dosage, right? So when people start a diet, they'll sit there and they'll think that they'll have to do like 5-6 days a week of cardio, like really intense. And what they don't understand is cardio is just a tool, just to burn more calories, right? So I like really starting my clients off, and even myself, on the minimal viable dosage of cardio. Maybe let's say, for example, I just start off with 2 30-minute, moderate intensity, steady state sessions. And then throughout the diet, I'm able to sit there and add upon that, whether I want to add more time to the missed sessions. Maybe I want to add, a little bit of low intensity. Maybe I want to sneak in maybe some high intensity interval training. So I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make with cardio, is just doing too much right off the bat to where they kind of cap out, and then it negatively interferes with their training. And you never want to sit there and put cardio on top of resistance training. So that's the biggest mistake I see.
And I think too, a good teaching point for the listeners, for other practitioners, is that make sure that you're giving your clients some sort of a personal preference when it comes to cardio, because that's huge. I mean, you might have somebody that just absolutely hates high intensity interval training, and they are so sore and they just cannot do it. And chances are, if you program them, if you have them do that, they're not going to look forward to doing it, and they're going to half-ass it. They're not going to go all out and do it effectively. So make sure you give them choices and just explain the different benefits of them, and just whether that's adding more frequency, duration, just be strategic with it, but just most importantly, give them personal preference and educate them on it.
Oh, I love that point. And that was something I learned earlier on, where some days if I gave them high intensity interval training, they might just not be feeling it for that day. So what I've done instead is giving them a list of like, okay, you can either choose between a high intensity, a medium intensity, or low intensity, but it's your choice to decide which one you want to do depending on how you feel for the day too.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to that, I think like one thing you guys touched on was medium intensity, right? And for some reason, this has been left out lately. Like a lot of people talk about HIIT, a lot of people talk about LISS, which is going for walks, but like medium intensity cardio, which is, going for a jog or using the cross trainer or anything like that, is still a very, very, very valuable tool that you can be using too.
No, it really is, you know. And then there's actually another one too. I was actually reading Lyle McDonald's book, and he likes what's called HISS, right? High intensity steady state cardio. And I never thought about it like this, but it is really true, because say you do moderate intensity steady state on a treadmill, that would probably be considered anywhere from like a 3.5 to a 4. And then let's say if you do HISS, high intensity steady state, you could probably walk really fast, probably about maybe 4.5 to 5 at the most.
And then put the incline up.
And then put the incline up a little bit. And it's still like a higher intensity, but it's not considered high intensity interval training, because there's such a huge discrepancy between actual sprints and actual like other just like high intensity, steady state. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Actually, I haven't that would be considered more like when people go like doing uphill stuff. I guess it's got that high incline. You're pushing yourself, but it's not like you're fully exerting yourself, because you actually physically can't either.
Yeah, and I think the elliptical would work good for that, and then a stationary bike, because you can pedal pretty fast. And even like elliptical, you can go pretty fast as well too, to where it's high intensity, but it's not necessarily like sprinting.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a little good couple of tips in there. But I feel like you guys said, figure out what works best for the person. Like, they all work at the end of the day, and if you don't like high intensity training, you don't have to do it to get cardiovascular benefits or to get the calorie burning benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. And another great teaching point I want to hook your listeners up with, Tyson, is that, like, let's say too, like you said, everything's kind of dose dependent, personal preference. Like for me, I don't really do well doing HIIT cardio, because I can't recover from that on top of resistance training. So I've had clients like that. They can't do that as well too. Vice versa, I've had clients where they could do HIIT cardio, they enjoy it, and they can recover like so fast. So what I like doing is I like pairing up, their lower body session with their actual HIIT cardio session on the same day. And some people might be like, oh, well, why are you doing that? And it's because, you're already causing a ton of muscle damage from the workout on the resistance training. So it's like, why not just add in a little bit more muscle damage from like a HIIT cardio session, and then take the entire day off the next day to fully recover?
Oh, that's a good idea.
But I think what you could do too, though, is what Eric missed out. If you're going to do that, I mean, obviously that's a higher level athlete, right? Like somebody's maybe doing a competition. After that resistance training, I'd recommend like either a 20 to 30 gram protein shake, or even like, some BCAAs, so you can start the muscle growth process, because you're piling on like, the lower body workout with the HIIT workout, and that could cause like some sort of, negative like type of adaptations within the muscle growth process, unless you have like some 20 grams of protein or some BCAAs within that.
Okay, that's a really good point. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So I'll make sure, like, at the end of the day, the recovery guys, like gaining muscle, losing fat, all that stuff happens kind of outside of the gym, when you're taking the time to recover, to rebuild, to make sure that you're resting enough, to reduce your stress, because that's when all those other things that are going to be happening, like, are going to take the toll on your body, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And so we've talked about, the cardio, we've talked about the diet. One thing that I want to ask you guys is, when it comes to weight training, what is your, what are some go-to things you always recommend? Should people be training in a body part split? Should they be training whole body? What's your take on that?
Yeah, that's another great question, man. I used to always be a big proponent for the first like maybe 5 years of my life, I used to be doing the old bro split, where it was like chest one day, then the next day, legs, and the next day back, one body part split like that. But then for about 2 to 3 years, I really liked the upper lower split as well too. And I got some really good results off that, because, you're actually increasing the frequency and the volume over the weeks and then the blocks. But what I really like now too, and even with my clients, is full body splits. And there's some pretty good research out on these full body splits. And when you really think about it logically, as far as like, training logic, it makes a lot of sense, right? Even if the studies aren't there to support it. Because if you have, let's just take example, you're doing chest and you're doing maybe 12 sets, across the week. It doesn't make sense to do all 12 sets on one day, right? Because let's say you do your first 4 sets on bench press, and then you're going to try to go and do incline like dumbbells or bench press, like that quality of the workout is going to diminish, because you're going to be fatigued from the first workout, and then the volume is going to end up being lower that day and across the week, right? So maybe you spread out those 12 sets, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Saturday. So you're hitting the chest really fresh. The quality is really good. The volume is still increasing over time, and then you're getting more muscle growth and strength. So that's why I really like the split or the full body workouts.
And I think too, having clients just, buy into the acronym REF, which Eric Helms talks about, which is realistic, enjoyable, and flexible. Because if you program something that's not, realistic for a client, because there's so many things that come up, so many things that we have to pivot on, and, we can't sit there and realistically follow certain protocols. So you have to build something that's realistic. If it's not enjoyable, they're not going to sit there and go into the gym and look forward to it and work hard. So definitely program something that's enjoyable and flexible, right? It has to be flexible for their lifestyle, their schedule, their priorities, everything. So I think that acronym is really, really important when you program for clients, and just really have them buy into, just the overall training volume that really makes more sense to, get your volume over the course of the week, that you don't have to get all your training volume within the context of one day.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because just thinking about that, sure, we just talked about, what's optimal, doing the full body, or, even if people want to do the upper lower splits. But if people really enjoy training one body part a day, and even though it's not optimal, if that's what they enjoy, then I think that's okay for them to do too. Like you said, it's got to be what they enjoy. If I'm like, you got to do full body 3 days a week, and like, what, I just don't enjoy it. Well, that's totally fine. We can change it up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point. I've had clients do that as well too. And there's times where they just don't give it a chance. And like, for example, we'll do like a full body split, and they'll be like, well, I wasn't very sore the next day, and I just feel like I didn't do enough, and I didn't get a good workout, just because I'm just basing it off my level of soreness. And that's where the coaching comes in. You have to really have them understand that, look, it's not about the level of soreness. That's not what really classifies you having a very productive workout. So it's just little things like that, that you really have to just like hammer home to clients and have them buy into that and educate them on.
Absolutely. And I think education is a big key. Like, clients should always be educated themselves with, they can, obviously watch Instagram videos, YouTube, Facebook, because when they come to somebody else with the trainer, when they have that knowledge too, then they can actually help have an intelligent conversation with each other.
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. And you want your clients to have like those intelligent conversations and communicate and think logically and critically for themselves.
Yeah, and if you're a coach and like, you just don't know the answer, or you're just not very knowledgeable in the area that the client's asking you, it's okay to say, look, I don't know right now, but I'm going to do everything I can to research this, reach out to some mentors, some colleagues, and I'll circle back and get you the answer. I think it's too many like coaches and trainers, they sit there and they try to be the know-it-all. They go out of they go out of their lanes, and it's like, dude, stay in your lane, like, and just don't be afraid to say those 3 words, I don't know, and just circle back to it.
Yeah, exactly right. And like that's like a lot of trainers, where they talk about niching themselves, and they shouldn't be afraid to do that, because for me, like, I'm never going to be huge in jack, so I don't want to, like, I don't spend a lot of time researching bodybuilding and things like that. But if someone came to me with that goal, I can send them to someone who I know who would be able to help them better than I can.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Same with us.
Very cool. So guys, we just talked about education a little bit. What are some, like, if someone was just kind of starting out, or maybe they've, had a little bit of education, health, fitness, what are a couple of books that you've really enjoyed that you would recommend for people to read?
Man, I just personally like textbooks,
Yeah.
You could definitely read books, from like authors and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that's bad or not. You just got to make sure that it's not one of those type of gimmicky workout or books where it's like, okay, the X name diet on the book and stuff like that. But, if it's a credible guy, like a thought leader, an influencer, and he's doing really good stuff and he's evidence-based and he's been in the field for a long time, a lot of experience, there's nothing wrong with that. I've even read some books from people like that. But I like textbooks just because that's basically just, there's so much foundational research behind that, and it's like, those are the basics, those are the foundations. And after that, I'm able to kind of form my opinion and how to kind of, interpret that to clients, to social media. And then I kind of just put my own twist on it. You know what I mean? So that's why I really like reading textbooks and stuff like that. And that's what I recommend.
Yeah. And I think 3 good ones that we could recommend is, the first one is called Understanding Nutrition. It's a textbook that it's jam packed with just pretty much how nutrition works and the right way it works. And then there's another one, just like a basic human physiology book, which is great. And then like some training ones too. There's one called Periodization, and then there's other ones like Brad Schoenfeld has. I mean, anything that Lyle McDonald puts out. So, I mean, there's a lot of good resources out there though.
Awesome. And what about one thing we touched on earlier? Do you guys have any mindset books or textbooks, like psychology textbooks, you think would be really beneficial for people to help work on their mindset?
Yeah, I don't have any textbooks. A couple just books that I've read that have really helped me is, number one is called Relentless by Tim Grover, which is freaking amazing and powerful. The other one is The Magic of How to Think Big by Dr. David Schwartz. And those 2 books have really just helped me just as a person and just as a business owner and a coach. So those are my 2 go-tos.
And then for me, Tyson, I'd recommend, it's called Mindset by Carol Dweck. That's a really good one. And then the second one is Live Life Aggressively by Mike Mahler. That's a really badass one. So those are my 2.
I'm definitely going to have to pick those up. One more that I want to throw in, I'm not sure if you guys have read it, is Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Waltz.
What's it called?
Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. Oh, it is an amazing. It's a very, very old book, but it's a goldie.
Oh man, nice.
You're gonna have to send that over to us after.
Yeah, for sure. I'll let you guys know. All right, guys. So I think we've covered a lot of bases today, and I think we've given a lot of people action steps that they can go away with, both for people who are just the general population, but also trainers listening to this too. So let us know what you guys are doing at the moment. Where can we find out more about you?
Yeah, so I mean, you can find everything about us on dynamicduotraining.com. But if you're a coach or a personal trainer, we actually have a free web class that we're giving off right now, and you can find that at fitnesscoachingwebclass.com.
fitnesscoachingwebclass.com. All right, guys, I'm going to put all that stuff in the show notes, and there are some golden nuggets in here, so I really recommend that you go back and you listen to this episode one more time. Guys, thanks again so much for coming on, and until next time, I'll speak to you then.
Tyson, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Well, guys, that is another awesome episode done and dusted. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, before you go, don't forget I am on Instagram, where I share daily health and fitness videos and pictures. So make sure to be following me there. It's at Tyson the Trainer. TysonTheTrainer because someone stole Tyson the Trainer with one arm. So make sure to follow me there at Tyson the Trainer, and I'll speak to you guys next week.